Para la gente de aquí de Power of Metal estamos con Ivar de Enslaved y vamos a estar hablando un ratito con él. Hi Ivar, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you. It's good to be talking to Latin America again. It's been a while.
So, you guys were last time you were like 5 years ago here, something like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
How does it feel to come back to Chile and South America?
It was fantastic the last time, and we've been just hoping, for a chance to come back. Now we know a little bit more
Mhm.
that it really lived up to our expectations. Um, and I and I can only say that, yeah, it's really something we are looking forward to.
Okay, so in the time between your last visit and now, you have recorded some new albums. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about it? How have the sound of the band changed or anything like that?
Yeah, I think it was a big step for us, the last album. Which album were we touring on when we were there last time, 5 years ago? That would have
Oh,
been maybe Utgard around that release
maybe,
time. Yeah.
maybe, yeah.
Anyway, there was Utgard, the album, and then we did a mini mini album called uh, Convoys Caravans to the Outer. What were they called? I keep messing this up because it sounds too much like another album by some old space rockers. I always say the wrong thing, which is funny. Like, I was the one who made these songs and the titles, and I can't remember it. Carol. I just, by the way, a little. I am on the new album. The opening song is called "Behind the Mirror," right?
I
And
think
the,
so, yeah.
and it was something. It sounded the title was there's something about it. And that song is really inspired by a lot of creator riffing, Mele Petrosa, my hero. And then when the album came out, then I realized why it sounded familiar because that's one of my favorite songs by Creator. It's called Behind the Mirror.
Oh,
So
okay. Uh,
it's like my subconscious is just totally separated itself from my life, and it's just running its own show. So all these weird things kept happening. Caravans to the Outer Worlds was the EP, and then this pandemic time really did something with the band. A lot of people just put the instruments aside and sort of gave up and had a really and still have a hard time. I think some of the bands, some got split up and so on. But I'm really happy that we've been going for such a long time, and it started paying off because it was like what and a little pandemic that's not going to stop enslaved. It might stop us as people, and we might die, but the band
it's still
is
alive.
unstoppable. Yeah, we've survived losing physical format, going into fucking Napster and all that stuff, and now so we'll survive a world pandemic, and I was really inspired, really glued the band together even more so. The album that came out after the pandemic,
Hmm.
Heimdall, has yeah, it's given us a push ahead. We see it live, we see it with the albums, and we reached quite a lot of more people, and the band we found something which is fun.
Hmm.
Album number 16, and you discover a new side of the band. It's yeah, I'm very grateful to be in a band like that.
Well, you talked a little about the pandemic. How would you say the musical scene has changed, like globally and in Scandinavia after the pandemic?
I think because I also work I have a record company together with Einar from Vardruna and our manager Simon, called By Norse, which
Mhm.
we release both enslaved Vardruna, but also a lot of Nordic music
Mhm.
and so on. We've seen what the pandemic did. A lot of us were hoping that it could um, lead that people would get more time to investigate, find new bands and so on. But that didn't happen. New bands really lost it during. They were the biggest losers in the industry during the pandemic. People spent a lot of money on albums. We could see that, but they spent it all on stuff they know. The secure things. Um,
Mhm.
if that was a reaction to the pandemic or just a change in mentality, I don't know. But it really shows, and it's still like that. It's nearly impossible for a new band to come up and show themselves, even in the metal. That's what I reacted strongly to. It's always been sort of a little bit more fair in the metal world in a sense. And we don't do boy bands with the cutest black metal singers going together and then they have a hit. People are still, listening. Is this good stuff?
Mhm.
Oops, sorry, 1 second.
Yeah,
Can
sure.
you hit pause for a second? Hei, Ivar.
Uh, yeah, I mean, we can cut it later, so don't worry.
Ja, er du utenfor?
There we go.
Yeah, it was
Uh, mhm, please.
a guy, delivery guy with some equipment, and he called me, and he was at the totally wrong place and delivering it. So I got panicked. I ran across the street
Oh
to get
no.
my pedals
Yeah,
because
no,
he was going to
no
give my
worries.
pedals to a fishing distribution
Oh,
company,
okay.
which is a kind of weird idea.
Yeah, but it's cool.
Yeah, it's all good now. Thanks for waiting, man.
Uh, yeah, no, no worries, really. Okay, so following with the interview, about your inspirations, where do you take inspiration? It doesn't have to be music, can be like authors or stuff like that.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more. Let's say it's sort of a pyramid, pyramid,
Mhm,
pyramidical development where it becomes more sort of abstract and generic in a sense. I think I'm on a path where eventually you just say life, right?
mhm.
Is the inspiration, because but that is a kind of a boring answer. So it'll be saying like existence. The thing is, I think the explanation is that things are more and more woven together. The more experience I have as a composer or author or whatever, that you have the distance from that. For me, the beginning of a song or a concept or a lyric begins with a feeling, sort of. You just get a certain feeling that I'm becoming better at recognizing, because it's sort of, I guess religious people would start to make allegories, metaphors on how they get signs or God's talking to them, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's my subconscious that is that wants to convey something, because it's the subconscious is seeking unification with the above self. That's a constant. It needs to be. It doesn't necessarily need to be understood because it's very cryptical and weird. But it needs to be. It enjoys and strives to be together with the rest of the personality. And I guess that's why it's so horrible when people have this cognitive dissonance where you're living a life that's sort of opposed to what is going on
Yeah.
in your deeper layers, because you don't get that unification. So for me, it's important. I sort of have a tremendous respect for it and gratefulness that these channels are open within me. So yeah, that's I get the feeling, and I mean, it's okay. There's probably an idea on its way. And then it's about facilitating that, right? So now I do a lot of work for the band. I have a record company, but I turn my chair 90 degrees to the left, and there's my studio. So I'm really close to it, and I go for it when I get the ideas. If I drive, I'll pull over to the side and try and open the laptop and record or whatever ideas. Um, and yeah, everything can influence. Now I have children. I'm not going to write songs that's about happy girls running among flowers, even though they do that a lot. But it's more that on an abstract level, like how is this transition in life? How does that come to expression? For instance, through Norse mythology, which myths, which gods in that mythology is representing this archetypical father, or even yeah, seeing yourself in relation to your young self and all that stuff. So yeah,
Mhm.
and when of course whenever I see a David Lynch movie, that is also very inspiring for me because he has such a beautiful way of transitioning through scenes that shouldn't really be be possible to connect.
Yeah.
He makes them natural. So I enjoy reading or seeing interviews with him and him explaining about this sort of really hard exercise of trusting
Mm.
the forward momentum in reality. What will happen will happen. He said, like he's explaining this one of his last movies. Do you remember? Have you seen them? When there's a guy in a white cowboy suit coming in to a
I
room all of a sudden.
I don't think I've seen it, to be
It's a
honest.
weird one. It's a weird one. In that movie, that scene, out of nowhere, a guy in a white cowboy suit and a hat and everything
Hmm.
comes in, and he said that's what happened. He was sitting in his trailer and he was didn't know there's something that missing between that and the next scene, and then a guy in a white cowboy suit and hat comes in. Turns out to be an old friend of him who was living
Hmm.
in that city, and then he just looked at him and said, "Ah, perfect. Here's the next scene." Yeah, and it made sense in the movies. It's kind of like that, you know. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
being an idiot and just doing random things, but it's a balance of daring to be a little bit of an idiot at the same time as you trust your own ability to make sense of it.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, that's long one.
following a little bit with the question about the inspirations, how does the composing process works for you guys? Because
It's
you do mix a little bit of black metal with progressive stuff. So how does it work? Mixing those elements and when you have an idea, how do you like make it
yeah,
happen?
that's how we are. Like today when I look at what I've been listening to, it's first three albums by Bathory, and then jumped straight into a couple of songs by Tool, and then that's prog is fun, and then go back and listen to King Crimson, and then yeah, some more black
Okay.
metal maybe. So it's all the way, and then maybe somebody mentions something about the band that I remember somebody recommending, whatever, and then yeah, all over the place. But so I write the songs, and I have a demo studio. I don't work with other people. It's just for writing my music with a bunch of
Okay.
synths, guitars, and yeah, I try to that feeling we talked about when there's an idea and a song coming. It's all about just playing and being a little bit playful. Maybe sometimes I'll do it on an acoustic guitar. Sometimes I'll crank up and use a lot of effects or whatever. Sometimes I'll just use the keyboards. So
Mm.
I also do a lot of that. And 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 I just know when there's a match between the feeling and the music that I'm making, and that turns into a song, which maybe has a title. So what I'll do, I'll send the demo tape out to Grutle and the other guys in the band. Here's a new song. We haven't a standing agreement. I've said I'll make the music, but it's I don't believe in the songs because I wrote them. I think that's very coincidental. It's
Yeah.
like some people are good at the carpenting, some are good at whatever running, and I happen to be good at catching ideas that runs through my head and putting them into guitar. So I said to the guys, if there's ever a song that you don't like, we'll just skip it. I won't even discuss it. Anyone can just say I
Okay.
don't like the song, and it's out. Um, which is yeah, it's pretty amazing that the songs keeps getting through and they like them, and then they start to work on them. Grutle and Ivar will start working on the vocals. Estadio Santa will start, playing around with some guitar voicing. Håkon, me and Håkon work together a lot on the keyboard thing. Uh, so yeah, and then when we've everyone has sort of shaped the song into to their department, we start working on it in the rehearsal room like a normal song.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really cool.
It is good, yeah. It's sort of a
Yeah.
very undemocratic, democratic process.
Yeah. So, is there like an artist you'd like to collaborate with, or an artist that specifically you've loved working with?
Yeah, there's many exciting artists. For instance, um, my experience from working with Einar from Vardrun has been fantastic. That was the first time I really worked with someone on in that level of cooperation. It was the same for him. So we were both very skeptical, like, this is not going to go well. But then it ended up being just fantastic. So I think, of course, I could be stupid and say Robert Fripp from King Crimson, which is a guitar hero, but I don't think anyone can cooperate with him.
Yeah.
Maybe Andrew Ballou, perhaps, but he seems to be, but he has a lot of respect with Robert Fripp. So okay, uh, going forgetting about that, I think working together with bass and drums from Tool, for instance, could be interesting in a more metal based. Adam Jones is pretty metal in his guitar style, but it's still quite a step to doing more extreme stuff. Those kind of rhythmic um, wonders that those guys do, that would be fun. And then yeah, this of course, who wouldn't want to play with a guitarist, do some rhythm for David Gilmour, while he's doing
Yeah.
his leads. Yeah,
That would be the dream.
that would be. I wouldn't go. Of course, I only do rhythm. I wouldn't do a single melodic note. That's totally pointless. That would be like standing next to Picasso and started to paint together with him. It's no
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Okay, so coming a little bit back to your visit to Chile, you guys already have been here a few times, right?
Yeah, at
Uh,
least one.
yeah. What are you like? Do you have any memories from the visit, or what are you expecting from your from for your new visit? Because you're not playing like a solo concert. You're playing at the Cl.Rock festival, which is like a pretty big festival right now.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew that we're playing at festival. I didn't know anything about it. What I really hope for this time is that we get a little bit more time, just for that one day that 1 or 2 days that we're there, because Chile was really rushed the last time. We just got in. I remember going into the venue and then afterwards jumping in the car and going ahead. So it was got a little bit squeezed between two
Okay.
two long flights, and that was a bummer because that is one of the best things about touring and going around is getting that that little hour, maybe a couple hours, and just walking around and seeing things, having a local beer at the like a genuine place
Yeah.
that's typical for that place. And of course, if you get time to have a proper meal, that's heaven.
Yeah. I hope you guys have more time this time.
What is the classic thing to eat in Chile? Like, what's the
Oh,
ultimate?
well, we have a lot of stuff. We have empanadas. We have
Oh yeah,
chorrillana. Yeah, I mean, I can give you a full list later if you want.
yeah, sure. I'd love some recommendations.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Okay,
Uh,
so about what's next for Enslaved? Are there any albums on your mind, new albums, new music, or stuff like that?
I have, yeah, I guess there's nothing concrete, but okay, it's the first time I mention it in an interview. I have been starting to write the first things for the next album, but
Oh,
it's going to be
cool.
it's a big project musically, but also we're working with a lot of um, we've been for the last albums and especially the last one, we worked close together with some young guys in a visual company that makes the videos and the visuals for the live concert. But this time we're working with them from an earlier stage in the process. And we start off on very basic, like finding yeah, it's a super pretentious project, but it's our project and we like it. It's going back to the origins, how things you can think of it as a metaphor, or you can think concretely, why not? Maybe the first few seconds of the universe, who knows? But like what shapes comes first and how do they sound and how do you visually portray them? Sort of what is this how does a drone look, a drone tone? How does it look or the other way around? Like how do you take a primeval shape, a fractal developing, how does it sound? And all
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So there's a lot of and it's that and then it's mixed together with we've played a lot of shows from our where we played stuff from our first few albums. And this year I've also worked a lot with a tribute to Bathory because it's 20 years since Quarton died. Which yeah, if he was alive, that would be my answer to your previous question. Who would I like to work with? It's,
Yeah.
even if so, we did a show in August, a full one with playing just Bathory songs. So that's also influencing in all its pretentious and progginess. Those two things are just as dominant, they are both very strong and dominating for me as a musician. So I'm wondering how it's going to end, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, let's hope it's an amazing album.
Let's hope.
Okay, so to close a little bit the interview, do you have like any words for the people here at the Power of Metal listen to us, or to the people in Chile that are going to see you guys at Cl.Rock?
Yes, to all of the above. I want, the big shout out, greeting to your listeners. Um, it's fantastic. Yeah, I want to thank YouTube for keeping that alive. It's a weird time. Um, Media are, it's disappearing. They're trusting more like you're just linking to other news, and everything's just a stupid circle with dogs biting their own tails, and nobody
Yeah,
really does anything. So, yeah, it's really important for the scene. That's how the scenes could develop to begin with. That you had people talking about it in their fanzines and magazines and radio shows. So yeah, web shows keep it alive, and for the people coming to the concert, expect an Enslaved that's not 5 years better, but a lot more than that. We were really a different band. We were good the last time, but now I think we're really, yeah. I'm old enough now. I feel that I can say that really good live. Uh, and then to the Chilean fans, you've always been with us on this journey since we started almost 35 years ago, and that's pretty special. How Latin America's always been such a big support for Enslaved, even though we were at different sides of the world, before the internet. So
yeah.
yeah, let's celebrate that by doing some proper Enslaved shows.
Cool. Thanks, Ivar. Thank you very much for your time,
Likewise.
and hope to see you in November.
Yeah, see you there.
See you
Come
then.
up and have a beer if you see me.
Of course,
Cool.
I will.
Awesome. See you, man.
See you, man.